Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And today I wanted to present to you all my learning journey of introduction to persons with autism. And so I'm going to be going through a couple of definitions, some terms that are related to my class. And hopefully this information that I'm sharing will be able to give you all an understanding or comprehending of what autism or what ABA looks like and what it is that I do. So, man, long time coming. Definitely wanted to share this process more as I get to grow and just be able to be assisting to people who do have autism. Not only that, but take this information to apply it to other facets of my life. So, man, it's been a great overall journey thus far as I've been applying ABA, being an RBT in the field for about 8 years now, and taking the initiative to go ahead and move forward and gain more knowledge and skills in this field to be able to really make an impact. So just thankful for everything that's, taking its course and wanted to come through, as I said today, and share with you guys a couple of terms that I'm going to be dealing with over the course of my first class, which is Introduction with Persons with Autism. So give me one moment. I'll be right with you all. So during kind of my first weeks of class, I'm going to be conducting data as far as wanting to see the effectiveness of my learning personally. And so with that, I'm going to be using a acceleration chart, which is going to track my incorrect and correct responses over a time period. And so this chart that I have that I'm going to be tracking whether I get the definitions and the terms correct. I'm going to be seeing how fluent I become over a certain time and using this knowledge, using this process of evaluating someone's learning process can bring forth great information on if you need to change up how you're learning or if you can apply this learning skill or procedure to be able to help out other people in other ways so that they can become fluent or master the skills or remember the things that they are being taught. So I have 60 words that I have to remember the definitions to, and I'm going to use social media as far as my platform, making this video. Uh, as I read off the definitions, I'm going to say the term, and hopefully over time, I'll be able to be more fluent with identifying these terms and the definitions. So let's go ahead and get things started. My first term is stakeholders. Stakeholders. Stakeholders is an outdated term to describe interested parties. The term stakeholder is associated with oppression when stakes were driven into the ground to identify who was taking the land from indigenous people. Self determination. The idea that people have the right to make decisions about their own lives. Self determination. Interdisciplinary collaboration. When professionals from different disciplines collaborate to meet the shared goal of supporting clients, students, or patients. Interdisciplinary collaboration. Self injurious behaviors. Behaviors that inflict harm on person emitting the behavior. Self-injurious behaviors. Restrictive repetitive behaviors. A broad category of behaviors that are characterized by a strong preference for sameness and frequent repetition of actions. Rep- Restriction, repetitive behaviors. Prevalence. The proportion of a population found to have a particular condition at a specific time. Prevalence. Person-centered care. Providing services based on the unique views of the client. Person-centered care. Feasibility. When interventions are realistic because they are enough resources, supports, and training for the team implementing the intervention. Feasibility. Response. An observable and measurable action or behavior. Response. Support needs. The level of supports needed for an autistic person to successfully navigate an environment in a way that is associated with a higher quality of life. Support needs. Medication. A chemical compound used to treat or cure illness. Medication. Preference assessment. Structured method utilized to identify highly preferred items or actions that can be used as reinforcers to keep motivation levels high when teaching. Preference assessment. Functional behavior assessment. A range of strategies used in the process of determining why human beings demonstrate behaviors. Functional behavior assessment. Collecting and using data. Behavior analysts collect, represent, and analyze data accurately to make decisions about the client's care. Collecting and using data. Single case design. A research method where a small number of participants are evaluated under carefully controlled conditions to monitor behavior over time. Single case design. Intervention acceptability. Extent to which an intervention is fair, reasonable, appropriate, unintrusive, and likely to be recommended by others. Intervention acceptability. Scope of practice. The range of tasks people certified or licensed is able to perform with their field of specialization. Scope of practice. Momentary time sampling. A data collection method in which the behavior is recorded only if it occurs at the very end of the interval. Momentary time sampling. Duration. How long a behavior occurs. Duration. Supported decision making. When trusted family and friends provide useful information to intellectually disabled people so that they make informed decisions about their lives. Supported decision making. Repertoire. Everything the person is currently capable of. Repertoire. Goal attainment scaling. A 5-point measurement system that measure how well a person meets their individual goals. Goal attainment scaling. Code switching. The practice of altering the way one speaks based on the different expectations in different situations, often harmful to the person code switching. Code switching. Procedural accuracy represents the accuracy with which the intervention or independent variable is implemented. Procedural accuracy. Scope of competence. The range of tasks a professional can perform within their field because their education and training are sufficient to perform these tasks correctly. Scope of competence. Rule governed behavior. Behavior shaped without directly contacting contingencies. Rule governed behavior. Incident. The number of new cases per person year. Incident. Consulting with other providers. Asking other professionals for guidance when providing services to a client. The consultant may have a similar of different specializations. Consulting with other providers. Social validity. A three-dimensional view that social significance, social appropriateness, and social meaningfulness are highly relevant to ethical delivery. Social validity. Neurodiversity. An anti-ableist approach to viewing variations in how the brain functions as natural as opposed to a deficit. The most common identified neurodiverse conditions are autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. Neurodiversity. Predatory journal. A journal that appears legitimate but is not because it engages in unethical practice or ignores safeguards to ensure a high quality of scientific quality. Predatory journal. Diversity affirming services. Combining cultural responsiveness with active dismantling of oppression, marginalization clients experience in an agency. Diversity affirming services. Calling in. A compassionate approach to informing people the things that they say or do have caused harm to another person by privately addressing the concern and offering replacement behaviors. Calling in. Autism spectrum conditions. Neurological conditions characterized by challenges in social communication and restrictive, repetitive patterns of behavior, use of objects or speech. AC, ASC is diagnosed when other explanations for these behaviors are ruled out. Autism spectrum conditions. Co-occurring conditions. Comorbid conditions. Co-occurring conditions. Differential diagnosis. The process of differentiating between two or more conditions which share similar signs or symptoms. Differential diagnosis. Consent. Approval of an assessment or intervention by a person legally able to do so. Consent. Latency. The time between the onset of some environmental event, a discriminative stimulus, and the target response. Latency. Referral. Recommending a practitioner complete an assessment and provide recommendation for supporting a client may include how medical or biological variables impact client behavior. Referral. Social significance. The extent to which the client and or interested parties view the target goal as worthwhile. Societal views may also be relevant. Social significance. Operational definition. A way of describing behavior by its topography, what it looks like, and or its function, what consequence it secures, in order to ensure that two different observers could identify the same behavior. The description should be clear, concise, observable, and measurable. Operational definition. Intersectional identity. All people are members of a number of different groups, which influences the way they view themselves and how others respond to them. Intersectional identity. Motor imitation occurs when a model evokes a physical response which is topographically identical. Motor imitation. Augmentative and alternative communication includes all forms of communication other than oral speech that are used to express thoughts, needs, wants, and ideas. Augmentative and alternative communication. Autism diagnostic interview. A standardized interview that helps diagnose autism spectrum conditions in children and adults. Autism diagnostic interview. Autism diagnostic observation scale. A standardized observational assessment tool that helps diagnose autism spectrum conditions in children and adults. Frequency. The overall count of a specific bit of behavior, the number of times a behavior occurs. Frequency. Social meaningfulness. The extent to which a person's quality of life is improved because they have greater access to new reinforcers and contexts. Societal views may also be relevant. Social meaningfulness. Culturally responsive goal setting. Adapting supervisee goals so they align with the supervisee's cultural backgrounds, experiences, needs, and values so they can meet their own and the agency's objectives. Culturally responsive goal setting. Intellectual disability. When a person acquires knowledge or skills at a slower rate due to below average intellectual functioning and experiences limited adaptive skills. Intellectual disability. Social appropriateness. The extent to which an assessment or intervention is acceptable to the client and or interested parties. Societal views may also be relevant. Social appropriateness. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, 5th edition. American Psychiatric Association's professional reference book used to aid diagnosis of mental health and brain-related conditions. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, 5th edition. Epilepsy, a brain disease where nerve cells don't signal properly, which causes seizures. Epilepsy. Quality of life, a multi-dimensional measurement of a person's overall well-being and happiness. Quality of life. Social model of disability. When the barriers experienced by disabled people are attributed to the environment or the attitudes of others. Social model of disability. Joint attention. When one person purposefully coordinates his or her focus on attention with that of another person. Joint attention. Assent withdrawal. The expression or demonstration of disapproval or unwillingness to participate in an assessment or intervention. Assent withdrawal. Assent. Client approval to proceed with assessment or intervention. Assent. Ableism. Biased thoughts and or discrimination actions against disabled people based on the false assumption they are less than or inferior. Ableism. Systematic review typically includes an analysis of the quality, quantity, and consistency of the scientific literature to determine if an intervention is effective. Systematic review. So those are the 60 terms that I will be undergoing my test of fluency. So over the next couple of weeks, I will be graphing every day how many of those definitions and terms I can get correctly versus incorrectly, and see over time if I am becoming more fluent to master the information given. So just wanted to show you guys a little tip, a little insight on what therapy is that I provide as far as ABA, applied behavioral analysis, and give you guys some of the definition of these terms that I'm dealing with. So, as I begin to show you guys a little bit more of the knowledgeable side and show you guys some of the practices here on this channel, man, I just hope that this information will be insightful, encouraging, and motivating to you to understand what's going on up here. And hey, to inspire, to encourage, and to keep motivating the next to be great. Believe, behave, become. Until next time, peace.